Football Friday. How you doing? You see, as you notice on our show, Fridays and Mondays. Football Monday, Football Friday. I don't like to have a lot of guests. Tone will be on at his normal segment, 3:30. The segment. The legendary Philly Godfather, 5:30. And on Mondays, JAKIB 4:30, Tone and Big Sills. And you. So this day is actually for you. See how giving I am. See what a giver I am to football fans. You see that? See what a giver I can be. Yeah, JM, I love Kurt Schilling. Now, here, not his politics, no political angle. I love Kurt Schilling as a guest because he's not afraid to say what's on his mind. I'm a big Kurt Schilling fan. Hey, baby, yeah, absolutely, senor. Did you see that dude, Josh Allen, last night? 350 yards, 40-some-odd rushing. What a stud. 106 QBR. Well, here comes Tone with the good news. Oh, wait. He did ball last night. That dude was insane. However, got nicked up a little bit. One of those Jalen Hurts injuries. He's hurt, but he doesn't want to tell anybody he's hurt, but he tells people he's hurt, and you're not sure what's going on, which I actually kind of like in a way, because the more confused you are, the better off. Because I started thinking this about the Hurts injury, or maybe not injury, or something. The more we're confused and in a state of limbo, maybe that's the best. Right? How about that Josh Allen? Man, that guy is they got to figure out, though, how to stay consistent. We'll talk about that game. We'll definitely talk about it. We're going to also go in to my prediction for the Commander game. But, hey, I'm going to call this week in the NFL decision-making week. And I mean by this, we got a ton of names. We got a ton of names when it comes to potential updated list. And this list is going to continue to be updated as we get closer to next Tuesday, 4 o'clock trading deadline for the NFL. So there's more names that are now popping up on it. And I think you have decision time. I think Washington's one of those teams. I think New England is one of those teams. Isn't that crazy? Bill Belichick may be selling as he gets closer to the trading deadline, which means the greatest coach in NFL history may be lining his team up and his franchise up to tank games the rest of the way out. Who would have thought Belichick would be in a position as a coach to not to actually want to win games, but to try to get better draft positioning for next April's draft? Unbelievable. Okay? Unbelievable. JM goes, New England isn't selling. Well, then they'll remain in that revolving toilet bowl that never flushes. You see, JM, you've got to figure it out. How he pulled the toilet lever after that 4-loss season. He wasn't just going to hang around. Boom, we're out of this. We're flushing this thing all out. I don't think you can go halfway when you're talking about there's nothing to rebuild in New England. Like, you're not close. So you're going to remain in that revolving shit box for what? To come back next year and be a 8-9 team, a 7-10 team? What's the point? What's the point? Have all the number one defenses you want in the country, in the NFL, college football. In today's NFL, having the number one defense in the NFL doesn't really matter. You've got to have the number one offense in the NFL. Or how about this? I'd rather have a top 10 offense than the number one defense in the NFL. Can't score points, you can't win. And all I need to do is get 10 points on your team. That's like saying the Jets. Look at the Jets. I mean, you're not winning the Super Bowl with that team. And you got a great defense or great defensive personnel. Today's NFL is different. Okay? It's just different. You're not going to see these Baltimore Raven defenses any longer. Just not. One, you can't afford them. You got to respect that about Howie. He's not afraid to hit the eject button. With Howie, there are no bad deals. And this is why he's a guy that's good. The only problem that he has is with his own personal draft picks. He gives it a little bit more latitude because what he does is he respects his talent evaluators and his scouts and his building. That's why he doesn't really pull the ripcord on some guys and they hang around maybe for a year or two too long. Like Derek Barnett has not been a good player. Wait a minute. Derek Barnett has been an average to below player. That's not a first-round guy. And yet he remains on the team, and the only reason he remained on the team is because he took backup money. Think about what he did to remain with the Eagles. He compromised himself and said, okay, I'm a backup. He's no longer going to start for a starting position in the NFL, or at least on the Eagles. Right? He accepted his role. Dude, I can't pay you money for a guy who potentially could be a starter. You're not going to start here. Because if Derek Barnett starts on your team, you're in trouble at that position. He's not an NFL starter. Okay? And Maniac, that's a great point too. His value, look at Andre Dillard's value. Now, Andre Dillard got a great deal with Tennessee. Lost his job 2 days ago. His value is now plummeted. It's plummeted. I wouldn't be down if somehow they try to get out from under that deal, give him a buyout or something and let him go. And his value's gone. But when you're with the Eagles, look at Milton Williams. Milton Williams has got enormous value. But Milton Williams goes to the Arizona Cardinals, and he doesn't play well. It plummets. There's value. I don't think there's value. You know, I never thought about this, but I don't think there's more value in Dallas for players than in Philly. I'd rather be an Eagle. As a player, I'd rather be an Eagle than a Cowboy. Someone goes, Sills, but you're always on. Being on TV doesn't pay my bills or keep me in the league. Philly keeps me in the league. Dallas keeps me on the headlines. And if look at Mozzie Smith. Look at his value. You know, I would make this point to you. Sills, would you rather have Mozzie Smith or Milton Williams? Give me Milton Williams all night. Milton Williams, I think, has more value. You can't. Hey, I'm just saying, man, that guy is not good. He is not good. He's going to get paid. You're damn right, Chris. I'll say this to you also. Again, Howie Roseman and this is like Howie time here. From like this previous Monday to next Tuesday, he is on the horn with everyone. I have to say this, talking with my friends in Dallas. Dallas realizes now that they have to do everything they can to get Derrick Henry, and they're making on a scale of 1 to 10, a 7 push for Derrick Henry. The Titans want a 2 and a 3. The Cowboys don't want to do that. They want to give a 3 and a 5. And they want Tennessee to pick up the majority and restructure that cap hit. That's not going to get it done at 3 and a 5 when you're asking Tennessee to do a lot of the financial burden. Okay? That's not going to cut it. For me, for Derrick Henry to either be a Niner, a Raven, a Bill, an Eagle, I think you're going to have to give a 2 and a 4. And you're going to have to, the only reason you're giving the 2 is so that Tennessee will feel good about themselves taking on the money. You know, I see some people going like this. Sills, give them Gainwell and Penny. Penny has no value. Rashad Penny has no value. And anybody that thinks that they're keeping him and saving him when your running backs are pathetic in pass protection and you have no red zone offense and you're saving him for a rainy day, that's insane thinking. That guy can't play and didn't play in Seattle for 2 factors. He's terrible at pass protection and he can't stay healthy. Watch this. Did you hear me say he's not good? I never said that he's not good. But those 2 things that I mentioned have destroyed his NFL career. Ed Reed, Dawkins, or Lott. Ed Reed, man, he's the greatest safety of all time. Look it up. Multiple Super Bowls, multiple Defensive Player of the Year awards. He's a 10-time All-Pro, All-Decade, 75th. Come on, man. He's the greatest safety of all time. There's not a guy closer. And in today's NFL that throws the ball more. Ronnie Lott didn't have to play against guys throwing the ball on a weekly basis 50 times. And Ed knocks people out. Not that Lott didn't. How about the story? Mike Selke wrote for the Inquirer today, was in the front page of the sports section. Jalen Hurts' injury is not something to take lightly. And how about this? Even now the Inquirer's starting to pick it up. Eagles expecting him to play Sunday. Jesus criminy, man. We're now picking up more and more of this story. That reporters are now saying, okay. Again, I can't make anything out of this. I don't really know what to think about this. Like, again, if you're not on the injury report, I'm not offering up anything on anybody. And I know we've gone over this, and I'm not going to hammer the point again because we've already said this. But if I don't have to give you personal intel on player health, why would I? Why? So now all of a sudden, the Washington Commanders could target his knee? Or how about this? How about on that brotherly shove? Great opportunity to take a shot at that knee. That's a great, hey, when you're in goal line like that, everything goes. It's like a fumble. You know, the 2 plays that you get hurt the most are fumbles and goal line scrimmages. When you're on goal line defense or goal line offense, that's where guys get hurt more in those scrums like that. You're going full board. You're just trying to get leverage on people. I mean, the fumble, you have everybody dives on because you get about 11 hats. Fumbles are dangerous. Okay? And get this. Purdy got hurt in the pocket. Well, we don't actually know when Jalen got hurt. And he went so much to say that he's not been hurt out of the pocket, which is not really true because the Chicago game, he was out of the pocket when he got dumped. Okay, so it's almost like he's covering for saying that he got hurt when he was running. Anyway, again, Mike Selke's now writing about it. If you're not concerned about it, you've got a problem. And I agree with Mike. I agree with Mike. Mike's now reporting on it, that this could be something. I think it's going to be interesting to see. Also, Jordan Davis. I don't know, Tone, what we're going to get. Probably a game day situation where we're going to find out if he's going to play on Sunday. Hamstring injury. He left practice. So I don't know what that means. Could that affect the game against the Commanders? Yeah. The Commanders outrushed you last game. Now, here, I'm about to give you my take on Commanders and Eagles this Sunday. Okay, but I'm just saying, this is going to be an interesting ball game here. It's going to be interesting to see the progress. He's looking like a game time decision. Well, you got Fletcher. I mean, Jesus, you can't have Fletcher or Milton's good. I'm good. I mean, it just hurts your rotation. It just hurts the rotation here. All right. Let me get into the game here. 6-1 Eagles versus the 3-4 Commanders. Division game, always a tough game. Last 5 head-to-head competitions that they've had against one another, Edmonds had no value but got traded. Great. Okay. So Edmonds was actually playing, though. Rashad Penny's played a few plays this year. So you think somebody off your practice squad or off your roster that hasn't played has value? I'm not giving you anything for Rashad Penny. Maybe part of a trade? Why would Tennessee want a guy who can't stay healthy? Or you're under the impression that Rashad Penny's a healthy player. He averages 80 carries a year. Do you understand that? 80 carries a year. That's not good enough. What value would you give a guy? Hey, 6 yards a carry, 80 carries a year. What value is that? What would you trade for that? What would you trade for that? Like 80, 90 carries a year and 6 yards a carry. What would you trade for that? A sixth? 1 cent maniac. I'd trade him a cannoli. A fifth? A fifth for a guy who can't stay healthy. Have at it. All right, here we go. How about this number? Last 5 head-to-heads between the Commanders and the Eagles. Eagles have put up 148 points. The Washington Commanders 125. Birds entered this contest 9th in passing, 246.6. 143, 4th in rushing, and 26.6, which is 4th in scoring. Damn good numbers. Damn good numbers. Defense, passing yards against, and Tone said this yesterday and pointed this out. They went from 27th to 18th. They're improving. I'd trade penny for a penny. Yeah. So they've improved that almost 10 full places in defense since they last played the Commanders. It's improvement. Rush defense, number 1 in the league, 62.9. Phenomenal. 62.9 you're holding teams to? That's spectacular. Points allowed, 20 points. I'm good with this too, man. Today's NFL, man. I mean, every NFL team should be able to, even the shitty ones, score 20 points a game. Unless you're the Giants. Oh, Daniel Jones is hurt? Jesus criminy. That's 14th, by the way. Jalen Hurts happens to be 7th in passing yards. And the stat that I love the most about Hurts is that 67-2. I never thought he'd be up there like that in his career. That's the biggest improvement that he has had since he left Oklahoma, has been that 67-2. I could live with that, build my team around that, and I have no trouble handing the football to a guy who completes 7 out of every 10 passes. I have no problem with that. Again, I mean, and get this, today's NFL, you see a ton of guys at 68, 67. You can't play in today's NFL if you are not accurate. That 67-2 has to be the biggest improvement in his career. Not much of a touch passer, but I'll tell you what, he's becoming more of an accurate passer. And then again, I think because of the amount of routes they run and type of routes they run, there's not a lot of touch. There's nothing finesse to the passing game in Philly. I mean, there's no jet sweeps. There's no counter trays. Those routes are basic. But because they're so talented, again, it's not a rip. It's less confusing, actually. I'd rather have the offense in Philly than John Gruden's offense. I don't want to complicate. Most of the time, the people you complicate are your own players. Your own players. How many times you watch John Gruden games or John Gruden teams and they lead every single year in penalties and pre-snap penalties because guys jumping off sides, guys illegal procedure, illegal formations. You see all those pre-snap penalties in a John Gruden offense, and you're just like this. Hey, man, what's the point of having all these exotic schemes and routes when you're confusing your team? Right? So, really, I mean, the defense is clearly improving. Here's the Commanders now. Commanders enter the game 211-7. It's 19th in passing. Rushing yards, 86-1, 26th. Jesus. And points scored, 20. That's 17th. And here's the shocking part. You've got a suspect O-line in Washington with the Commanders, right? You have a suspect line. Look at what they have done or not done and underperformed on defense. Passing yards against, 248-4, 28th. You're paying all those guys and you drafted all those guys in the first round and you can't get home? Rushing defense, you're giving up 125-7, 22nd. Points allowed, you're giving up 27-1. You're 29th in points allowed, which means you're giving up points in the red zone also. Here's a funny stat, though. Sam Howell is 8th in passing yards. What do I see happening in this game? I see Hurts throwing for 300 yards. And I see the Eagles winning this game 30-18. Here's why. From the day that they played in that first one in Philly at the Link, they got better. The Commanders haven't gotten better. They've just been treading water. I think it's 30-18. Anything less would be an underperforming game by Philly. You come away with a 4-point win against them. I would question what happened in the game. You're going to have turnovers. I can't believe that they're going to go into a game with a team that has been performing and trending where they can't stop anybody or they can't score against anybody. Okay? I just don't see it. Where? The Eagles have gotten better since game one. And some are going to go, well, Sills, seriously, you destroyed the Giants. But Dan, I do know. You need to put an ass beating on this team like you did the Dolphins. Yeah, but they see us. With what? How does Washington hang with you when they can't hang with anybody else? Oh, but we see, I don't give a shit who it is. Knock these guys out finally. End Ron Rivera's career in Washington. End it. Kill it. Let them hang around. Run the ball at them as much as you possibly can. And hey, to me, I wouldn't mind Jalen Hurts throwing the ball 30 times in this game, 35 times in this game. 35 attempts passing, 35 attempts rushing. You should destroy this team. Washington does have the better coaches. Washington has the lesser Jimmys and Joes. Senor still thinks that you have a good coaching staff. Desai's coming along. He's coming along. Brian Johnson, wobbling. Your head coach has no say in your team. I don't give a crap what you think. All he does is apologize. He's a cheerleader in my book. Okay? Players like him, great. He keeps it calm and everything. Wonderful, whatever. I don't care. I would never vote that guy coach of the year. And I have a vote. I would never vote for him for coach of the year. He doesn't do anything. And the job descriptions that he has, he's not very good at them. There's great talent on that team. There is. Never vote for that guy. 30-18. 30-18. And by the way, winning the Coach of the Year award in the NFL, I don't know if that's a really big honor. Half the time, most of those guys get blown out 3 years later. Look at Brian Dable. Shit, really? They're calling for his head in New York. He just won that award a year ago. Matt Nagy won that thing a couple years ago. They fired his ass. Okay? They fired his ass. Crazy. Yeah, look at Brian Dable. How's he looking? Look at the shitty players he's got on his team. Okay? Anyway. Brand says he makes the calls. No, Brand. They took play calling away when he was 2-5. Are you dumb? He doesn't play call. Through 13 seasons, Ron Rivera has 8 losing years, 3 winning seasons, 1 500. I don't say this to overvalue Nick, but I do question if you are overvaluing Ron Rivera. Well, here, I'll make this point to you about Mike Tomlin. Look at Mike Tomlin's last 10 years, and you tell me how Mike Tomlin's done in the postseason. He's missed it 4 times. He's 6-10, I think, the number, over the last 10 years. Are we overvaluing Mike Tomlin because they won a Super Bowl early in his coaching career? I mean, he's never had a losing season. So, I thought this was about winning Super Bowls. Mike Tomlin in the last 10 years has a losing record in the postseason, and almost half the time he hasn't made the postseason. And I love Mike. He's my favorite NFL coach. Him and Vrabel. I love those two guys. Okay? No, I overvaluing Ron. So let me get this right. Ron Rivera had to be a head coach in that whole scenario with Daniel Snyder. And he was also the head coach down in Carolina with a guy who had his team taken away from him as well. And that whole gigantic shitbox that they had there when the owner had the team taken away. Ron won in spite of two of the worst owners in the history of the NFL. Okay? Look at the two places that he worked at. What was the guy's name that was the owner that had his team taken away? Played for the Colts. And he just worked with Daniel Snyder. Talk about organizational dysfunction. Both places were organization dysfunctional places. And yet Ron still put teams together that were competitive and actually put a team in a Super Bowl. I mean, you want to put context in context? I mean, Jerry Richardson, the owner of Carolina, had his football team taken away because of organizational dysfunction so bad that the league took it away from him and made him sell it to David Tepper. Okay? You know what I say to that? Pick better situations. But you pick better situations. Sometimes you think Eric Bieniemy picked a better situation, or do you think Eric Bieniemy had to pick a situation because it was the only choice? Because no one else would hire him. You think Eric Bieniemy wanted to go to Washington? Or do you think Eric Bieniemy had to go to Washington because no one else would hire him? Don't. Pick better situations. Yeah. That's why sometimes, hey, I'll tell you what, though, Tone, sometimes staying with Philly, staying with San Francisco, staying in good organizations like Pittsburgh, sometimes the smarter thing to do. I mean, Eric Bieniemy, you know what they look at with Eric Bieniemy? Shit that he did 25, 30 years ago. And they looked at him as Andy Reid's puppet. And the offense hasn't really gotten any better under his direction. He has lost value. Eric Bieniemy will never become a head football coach in the National Football League unless it's given to him. He's done nothing in Washington to make you think that he deserves to be a head coach. Okay? Unless you want to right or wrong, I'm not adverse to that. He should have got a job 5-6 years ago. Then I turn around and go, how did DeMeco Ryans get a job? Did he not get the job because he's black? Other black coaches are getting opportunities. Not at the rate I want to see. But what has Eric Bieniemy done to deserve an opportunity to be a candidate coming up in the NFL? He went to Washington. You mean to tell me he should have just stayed in Kansas City? Like Tone said. Actually, Tone's only busting my stones. But right, Tone? He should have stayed in Kansas City until a better opportunity came up. Tone's right there. Washington? Now what you've done is you set yourself back further because then every stupid-ass white owner goes, see? 4 winning seasons and 12 years as a head coach. What exactly has he really won? The same thing as your guys, Stu. Win an NFC title. What has your guy won? What exactly has Nick Sirianni won? A participation medal and a silver medal. Like I said to you the other day, Doug Peterson's record at 57-55, I'll take Doug all night long over Nick. It's not close. Because Nick has the most important thing after his name, world champion. I mean, Nick Sirianni has a better win percentage than what Doug Peterson has. And yet some of you would take the win percentage over the guy who won the Super Bowl. And if you had him, like I've said, and I'm not going to continue the narrative of going down that lane again, but if you had him in January or February, you'd have won the Super Bowl. Shit, maybe if you had an even more competent coaching staff. Guys that weren't giving a shit about getting new gigs. Look at LJ, 4-12. That's because your GM sabotaged him. All right. So, I think 30-18. Okay? Brandon doesn't think you win the Super Bowl if Peterson's your head coach in February. Not really much of debate on that, is it? Hey, Steve goes, Nick Sirianni will win a Super Bowl this year. Mark it down, Sills. Had a great roster last year. Couldn't get it done against a lesser team. That guy's not winning a Super Bowl. He's not. Not with that coaching staff. If he had a better coaching staff, better coordinators, well, again, I keep doing that. Desai, I'm liking what he's doing. But if you had a better offensive coordinator, you probably, probably. You got to have a great coaching staff around him. Doug Peterson had a great coaching staff. Andy Reid always has had a great coaching staff, plus he's a head coaching play caller. Do you realize that almost every head coach play caller has either won a conference title or a Super Bowl? Look at McVay. Look at McVay, how good he is. Kyle Shanahan won a conference title, play calling head coach. Very seldom do you see guys that are cheerleaders that make it to the Super Bowl. Jason says, do you believe nowadays coaches are very different in a lot of ways? Nick is a player, owner's coach, and it works not only for him, but the team. I would say this to you, Jason. Today's NFL guy, no matter what you are and who you are, it's about the roster, and it's about your assistant coaches. Jimmy Johnson will always tell you, you don't have the best assistant coaches, there's no chance in hell that you're going to win a Super Bowl. There's a reason that he brought the entire coaching staff from the University of Miami to Dallas. Do you realize that coaching staff was with him for 5 years at Miami? They won a national title. Then that same coaching staff turned around and won 3 Super Bowls within a 5-year period. Same coaching staff. And those were all the same guys. All right. We're going to look here in a little bit here at week 8 of the NFL. But I want to throw these names out at you. And I said this week here is going to be decision-making week. Okay? And I'll say this to you about decision. Do you know why more guys are like and what organizations want like Nick Sirianni as a coach? You know why they want guys like that? Because front offices now today have more control of the rosters than ever before. Head football coach, this is why you don't see the Parcells or the Johnsons or the Ditkas or the Buddy Ryans or any of those kind of characters in the NFL any longer, because those guys had complete control and complete say of the roster and the direction of the roster. The personnel guys sat behind and, they sat there and their time was in the offseason. Well, today's front offices, they control most of the narrative because you know why? With the analytics that you have today, that's a way for them to get into the locker room and into the roster and make decisions on game day and who's going to play, who's the actives, who's not active, what kind of scheme you're going to run. There's no question that front offices today are part of the coaching staff. And that rubs people like Doug and old school coaches the wrong way because those guys, you know what they see? They see analytics. Analytics cost Ron Rivera the first game against the Eagles. Some guy upstairs probably said, hey, we shouldn't go for it. And instead of a coach going, no, we're going for it, he went with what everyone was telling him. And so today's coaches like Sirianni play along with that. That's how you have, and when you're in an organization like Philly that makes really good moves because the general manager's right, most of the time in all of his, I'll tell you something. I think that Howie is stronger in pro personnel than he is in college scouting because he still misses. His pro personnel guys that are in that building have to be the best in the league. Howie Roseman's pro personnel people, I don't know who the director of pro personnel is, but that guy, how many bombs? Wasn't there a guy they brought in from San Francisco last year to play? What was that, Tart or something like that? They brought him in. The guy, Robert Quinn. But, dude, I'll take that when you're landing on 98% of guys that you bring in. I want my general manager continuing to bring guys in and roll dudes in until you find a guy that can play. I don't want him to be sitting there like Jerry going, hey, he's waiting for someone to call him. Well, bro, that's the problem. Why you've been waiting for 27 years for somebody to call you. No one's calling you. How he gets on the phone and calls everybody has a value. I bet you this. What is there, 1,800 kids and players that are in the NFL? I'll make this point to you. I bet you he has a valuation on every single guy from the practice squad all the way up to the big team and the 1%ers that are on every roster. He is – that front office in Philly is spectacular when it comes to pro personnel. The college scouting is so hard because you never know what you're going to get. Conference has an issue, who you play against. Like, who would draft anybody out of North Dakota State? Are you crazy? Who in their right mind would draft somebody out of North Dakota State when they don't play anyone and no one gets drafted out of those programs? And the people they play against. Hey, you know what? Once had a couple good years. Okay, but, it wasn't meant to be because nobody plays against them. Sills, that's why we will never have a dynasty anymore in the NFL. The NFL, because coaching staffs leave after 2 to 3 years. Now they just don't stay for 10 anymore. They don't stay for 10 anymore. I mean, that entire coaching staff that Bill Walsh had, Dirty D, that's a great point. Coaching staffs were on a roster and all that for forever. For absolute ever. Okay? Ever. Wentz was good for a period until they figured it out, and once they figured it out, he's unemployed. Nick utilizes plan to standard actually recognizes where we need help. That's nothing to do with his job title. Howie's the guy that recognizes what you need. Do you actually think? See, this guy Brand thinks that Nick Sirianni signed Julio Jones. Really? You think that he called up Howie Roseman and said, hey, let's sign a 33 or whatever he is year-old wide receiver? Really? Surely you don't believe that. How many people think Nick wanted Julio Jones? Or did that just parachute in? Oh, wait, let me guess. Nick, being an offensive guy, knew to go out and get Byard, right? That's a Howie move. Nick has no personnel say. He has kind of an input when it comes to, what do you think of this guy? Okay, I like it. Hey, we need safety help. Great. Because here's Nick Sirianni's input. And again, this is most coaches in the league today. Guy like Tom Telesco with the Chargers. You know what they'll do? They'll sit in the team meetings with the coaches. The coaches will look at the personnel, the general manager, and go, hey, we're a little thin at corner. We need some help at safety. Nick doesn't know the names. Nick's going to tell him we're thin here. How he's going to go to his personnel people. They're going to get on the horn and they're going to start evaluating off their boards. I've seen it done. They're going to go like this. Tennessee has a guy. Buda Baker costs too much. There's a guy in Denver. And then you start, just like the draft, you start looking at the economic value. It'd be on a 1-year deal, 2-year deal. And you look at age, money, cap, all of that. And you look at what the best financial situation is for your football team 2 years from now or next year or next March. And that's how he does this. And you see it. Now it's a pattern. There's no question. He likes mercenaries on defense. He likes homegrown on offense. And what he's doing is a really good job. His failures at wide receiver and corner and safety, what does he do? He drafts a couple of young pups, but to cover up some of the things that they can't get right at corner. Hey, cornerback, wide receivers. Bill Belichick, when's the last time he drafted a wide receiver in the first round where you went, wow? That N'Keal Harry was a complete turd. All of Belichick's receivers have been knockoff guys. Amendola, Edelman, Welker on a deal they made with Miami. Randy Moss, everyone thought his career was over. Guy's never drafted wide receivers in New England. That's during the Brady era. And the two places he cares, there's only really one place he cares on defense. That's the D tackle position in the D line. They make a fundamental. That's nothing to do with Nick. That's an organizational decision that's gone on since Joe Banner. It had nothing to do with how they operate. Nick had nothing to do with that 17 team, and the same makeup of that 17 team is fundamentally seen today. Why is that? Because Roseman runs that roster. He runs it, and it's his game. If you had a coach that had total say, it would look like Chip Kelly. Not the same as Doug's team. This thing looks the same exact like Doug's team. Why? Because this is how he operates. The Chris Longs of the world, the mercenaries on defense, and the homegrown guys on offense. That's how NFL is being run today. These front offices have way more say. Like, here's the problem you got in San Francisco. Can I tell you what the problem in San Francisco is? Kyle Shanahan has a say in the personnel. You can see that. Why? Nobody in their right mind. I would have rather have had Mac Jones than Trey Lance. I might have won. I don't know what Kyle could have done with him. Kyle Shanahan is a great play caller. Kyle Shanahan understands putting other position players in great positions to win. But Kyle Shanahan is one thing that John Gruden struggled from. They think they know personnel, and he doesn't. You don't really believe that Kyle Shanahan made that deal for Christian McCaffrey. John Lynch did. John Lynch did. Okay? He wanted to bring the Stanford kid home. John's a Stanford guy. He wanted to bring him home because it's where he played his ball too. And he knew he'd be in a great. This is kind of a little bit what Jason Cole said. Part of the problem you might have in Cleveland with Deshaun Watson is the fact that Deshaun Watson really doesn't want to play in Cleveland. No matter how much money you're paying him. I never thought of it, but he's probably right. He's miserable. Imagine that. You're making $48 million and you're miserable. It can happen. It can happen. It does happen. You get caught in this cesspool. It's not what are you talking about? It's not an excuse, it's a fact. The hell are you talking about? Who would take when they drafted Trey Lance? It's not only when they did that, when they gave up the 3-1s for him, I'm like, you're out of your mind. I'm not giving 3-1s up for anybody in college. Not happening. I'll give you 3-1s for a dude that's a perennial Pro Bowler in the NFL. I'm not giving, you know what's funny? Fans think these first round draft choices are like golden nuggets. They're not, they're no longer golden nuggets. Why? Because free agency now has turned the table. Back in the day when you put all that money, I think what was that kid's name, Tone? Sam Bradford was the last rookie to really get like a $68 million signing bonus when he came out of OU. And the next year they changed the CBA where they gave more money to the veteran guys that were in the league. And that's when they started doing structured contracts for rookies. And they flipped it because everyone started going like this. Why are we giving first round money and all this money to guys who are unproven versus the guys that are in the game that are proven? A guy like Derrick Henry, second rounder. Are you high? You win a Super Bowl if you put him on the team. But there's an idiot out there that would say, hey, I want to keep my twos. For what? So you could cut a linebacker like you did this year that was a third-round pick? Or Andre Dillard? How about going and get a guy that you know works? That's where Roseman is great. These draft choices aren't the same value. Look at how these teams move off of these first-round picks now at quarterback. Shit, Chicago's going to move off of Justin Fields. Okay? Right? Look at Hollywood, Nnamdi Asomugha. Who ran the team then, dude? Was that Andy Reid? Was that Andy getting a little more say in the team? Yeah, you know what? For every Nnamdi Asomugha, I'll turn around and give you a James Bradbury or I'll give you a Darius Slay that Howie has come up with and put on the football team. Okay, Nnamdi Asomugha, Bradbury, Slay. You don't mind a guy striking out in free agency. You mind a guy not trying, and you mind a guy who's got a poor batting average. Howie doesn't have a poor batting average. I mean, look at the Kaiser White deal. So that's why we have a new list here. And I think he's going to look at one of these guys as we get next to Tuesday at 4 p.m., the trading deadline. Thank you, David. Asante Samuel. Thank you, LAC. Here we go. These are now, this list is probably going to be updated Monday because of what happened on Sunday. Okay? I brought this guy's name up, and now he's moving to the top of the list of many lists when it comes to potential trades. The Bears corner, Jalen Johnson, is at the top of the list because of his youth, because of his athleticism, and the Bears have made him available. Derrick Henry, they're taking phone calls. Dallas is expressing a ton of interest. What is the one thing that the Dallas Cowboys right now lack when it is in comparison to the 49ers and Eagles? What do you guys think that the Cowboys lack when you look at the two heavyweights in the NFC? What do you think they lack? Don't says dignity. It's funny. You got me good one on that, Toad. Dignity. Funny. Toughness. The Dallas Cowboys are a finesse team. Tony Pollard. Well, he's a good back. I know. I would never look at DeAndre Swift and go, that's a power. That guy puts fear in me when it comes to running in the red zone. That guy's never been a red zone back his entire NFL career, albeit brief. If Dallas wants to be a tough team again, you get a tough guy. Have you seen Derrick Henry standing at the podium too? Holy shit. I thought Micah Parsons was built like that, but he's not. Micah Parsons is built kind of like Jalen Reagor. Okay, I kid. Dallas all of a sudden becomes a physical football team with Henry running the ball. And then you have Henry and Pollard. That helps Dak. I could see him land, and he's out of the AFC. And by the way, I have a total problem with Micah Parsons throwing rainbows and butterflies at the Eagles, your division foe and the guy you're trying to take down. If I'm going to fight somebody, I'm not going to throw love kisses and Valentine's boxes and sending them to all the players at the locker so that they can pick out their favorite candy on Valentine's Day. Jesus criminy, what do you want to date? Micah Parsons looks like a worm doing that. Show some dignity. That's maybe what Tone's talking about. Well, they're really great. They have no hope. Shut up, dude. You look over at that guy and you go like this. Hey, man, why don't you go over there and kiss him? What are you looking for a date? I don't give a shit if he's from Philly. That's your enemy. No fraternizing. That'd be a rule on my team. I'm not having any of that jersey switching shit, praying on the field, and I'm not having any of that. That ain't happening. I'm not having any of that. You want to do that stuff? You go on your own time and do that somewhere else. You're not doing that here. That Pat Riley rule, no fraternizing. I don't give a shit what it is. You ain't going over there to love. If you want to shake his hand after the game, that's a you thing. You go right ahead. I'm not, no fraternizing. Hey, can I have your jersey? After a team beats the shit out of you, you're going to change jerseys? It's crazy. Okay. Number 3, I think this is a Chase Young game on Sunday. Could you see the Washington Commanders trading him? Chase Young? They didn't pick up his 5th-year option. Where would you trade that guy? Kansas City? Wait, let me think. Bieniemy. Kansas City. You'd want to get him out of the NFC. So your first look is going to be AFC teams. Buffalo, because of Von Miller's injury. Washington's not going to be looking to get or to make the 49ers better. You're not sending him to the Eagles. How about the Bills? Chase Young to the Bills. Here's someone to look at if you're the Eagles. Dante Jackson, Carolina. Corner. And by the way, I think Chase has looked pretty decent. He gave everything. Jordan Mailata's hands were full that day. I like this kid, Dante Jackson. Cortland Sutton, I don't think the Eagles are in the market for a wideout. How about this guy? I heard this morning. Julian Blackmon. Safety, Indianapolis. Shane Steichen? Howie? Nick? Guys all in that together? Colts? Drew goes who? Do you know why, Drew? You say who? That's who Howie looks at. Who? Not the big name guys. You didn't know who C.J. Gardner-Johnson was. No idea who he was. Preston Smith's name is going to be out there too. Outside linebacker, Green Bay. I think this guy's a little too long in the tooth. Justin Houston, Carolina, OLB. I think that's just a little bit too. I think he's 34 now. I mean, I'd rather keep Brandon Graham. This Carl Lawson stuff with the Jets, I don't get it. They haven't really played him in the last 2 weeks, and he's been a healthy deact, and I don't know. Obviously, they're trying to deal him. Okay? Look at this guy here, Kean, pretending that he knew who Gardner Johnson was, making $800,000 and buried on the Saints roster. Guy's such a bullshit artist. You and Nick are perfect for one another. Ezra Cleveland, offensive guard. I doubt they're in the business for that. So, to me, I would look at Jalen Johnson, Derrick Henry, Dante Jackson, Julian Blackman. I don't think the linebacker's there, and I don't think they're looking for a defensive tackle. Sills, happy Friday. Thank you for the countless hours of entertainment you give us weekly. Cheers, my good man. Howie, go get King Henry. John, dude, that would be amazing. If you put something like that up and all of a sudden he lands on that pod, come next Tuesday, unbelievable. Unbelievable that would be. If you're able to do that. I'm going to look at week 8 of the NFL. My friend Tone, he's going to be with us for the segment, as he always is, on a Football Friday. That will be at 3:30 Eastern time. Oh, by the way, do me a favor, please. Do not forget today. We are giving you your last opportunity for the week to qualify for our Hooters gift certificates. All you have to do is email us at dansilioshow@gmail.com, your info, and you may be in line to win yourself some great merchandise and also that gift certificate. There'll be a code word that's going to be thrown out over the next 4 hours. All you have to do, again, like I said, is identify that code word. You email us, and you may end up being some winners that we announce each and every single Monday. dansilioshow@gmail.com. You may find yourself an opportunity at winning a gift certificate and some merchandise with our great friends at Hooters. So, again, we'll throw that out there, and we'll give you an opportunity over the next 4 hours to end up winning yourself those gift certificates. Don't forget also, this weekend will be some great football as well. Great football. Get out to any one of the Hooters, 7 locations from Rhode Island all the way down through Jersey and all the way over to King of Prussia. 40th anniversary, the iconic Hooter girls are there. If you don't want to go in any of the places, use the app, HootersToGo.com. Football and Hooters. I mean, perfect match, right? Try some of the great specials. Buy 10 wings, get 10 boneless. Wing Wednesdays, a 40-year tradition, all for $19.83. All you can eat. Kids eat for free on Saturdays. That's NortheastHooters.com. That's NortheastHooters.com. And when you go into any one of the facilities, do me a favor. Tell them Big Sil sent you.
Yo. football and Hooters, the perfect